Hey my friends, it's Wes. In today's video, we are jumping back into Tenset. Why? Because it is an awesome platform. Number one, you guys know I'm a huge fan of what Tenset is doing, but two, we're going to be covering the very first gem. This is going to be a really exciting video. We're going to cover and dive into what Metahero is all about. We're going to talk about why the founder credibility is a big deal in this space and how they are bringing utility right out of the gate. That could mean big things if you have interest in this awesome crypto. So you don't want to miss this and a whole bunch more coming right up. All right, my friends, thank you guys so much for joining. Man, it's really good to be with you as we cross the 50,000 subscriber threshold here. You know, I started this whole channel kind of being like the anti-crypto guy, right? Like in the sense of I'm going to cover what I want. I'm going to break rules when I want to. A good example of this is I'm not a full-time YouTuber. I really don't have any goals of becoming a full-time YouTuber. I like just covering the things that interest me as I go down my entrepreneurial journey. And hey, by the way, if we've not met, my name is Wes Spencer. Welcome here to this channel. I am so glad you're here. In this channel, I cover cryptocurrency. I cover all of the things that interest me around entrepreneurialism and also just building your own financial wealth. And I am a huge cybersecurity nerd. I have founded and created and sold companies specifically in that space. So I'm really glad you're here. And hey, if you're new, you could do me a huge favor. You know what I'm about to ask. Would you hit like and subscribe and hit the bell icon? All of those things go a really long way in the channel. Okay, enough of that stuff. Let's jump right into some awesome content. So if you haven't seen my other videos around Tenset, you really should just go pause and watch them. I'll make sure to put links to them in the description down below so you can go see them really easily. But I really cover what captured me about Tenset from the very beginning. I look at them as sort of this bridge between the stock market and what's happening in the crypto space, which allows them to do so many things. Not just a way to have hedging and stability when the stock market is doing really well and the crypto market is not, kind of like right now. It's kind of funny how we made this video before all this happened, or vice versa, or whatever. Just the ability for them to be able to bridge multiple financial ecosystems together is really powerful. Also, Tenset is becoming an accelerator of sorts. See, if you've not been in the startup world, let me just kind of chat with you quickly about what an accelerator is. An accelerator is a way to get founders the credibility, the platform, the resources, the tools, and the funding to get started as they go down a journey if they have a great idea. There's lots of accelerators that are out there. Some are good, some are bad. And Tenset through the GEMS platform is becoming one of these, which to me is super cool. So let's just go and jump into this whole thing as we kind of dive into Metahero and I share with you what I'm so excited about. So here's the Tenset platform. Again, all links I share, as always, will be in the description down below, so it'll be easy for you to get to them. So here's the Tenset website. I'm not going to dive too deep into this at the moment. Just to kind of scroll down, though, here is how Tenset works. Over here on the right, they call it an ETF 2.0, which I kind of like the term, right? So you buy Tenset, it goes into some asset management, or at least the funds, I should say, go into asset management both in the crypto space and in the stock market world. Profits are used with a buyback mechanism. There's a burn mechanism. So this has some of the Reflect Finance, the RFI token burn mechanisms in it, but it's much different because of the utility that's already built in Tenset. The team is known, so they're very public. It's really not like a lot of the other fly-by-night, rug pull burn tokens that are out there for sure. So we've covered all this before, but that's just a super quick refresher. What I want to do is up here at the top is gems, and you can click on this if you ever want to kind of dive in and see what we know about the gems themselves. And I made a whole video on why I was excited about the gems. I love how things come together. Like I shared a video a long time ago how I dove into Keep Network like a year and a half ago when I was first starting this channel. Probably got like 1,000 views, something like that. And then all of a sudden today, it's really blown up. It's become a really, really, really big crypto. I love seeing things like that happen. And I remember covering gems and I was like, this is super cool. Not just because it's like this Minecraft block and I'm a huge Minecraft fan, but because of the future potential. I was like, I know there's going to be some amazing cryptos that are going to come out through the gems platform. And guess what the first one is? Metahero, right here. So what's it all about? We can scroll down. We can see that the token is Hero. It's running on the BSC network, which I think is good to start for sure, because we know Binance is far cheaper on the fees for sure on BSC or BNB either way. Launch date was June 21st, but you haven't missed anything because the real release date is going to be July 5th, which is coming right up. So I just wanted you to know about this. Total circulation is 10 trillion with a price of about 200,000 Hero currently is being locked to 1 BNB. Now that may fluctuate over time, likely will, all that kind of stuff. I don't think it's hard locked. Here's the website, all the details and data for it, and the description as well, which we're going to give much more into the description in just a minute and what it's really all about. So there's the data and the info. They do have like a quick infographic that you can kind of watch to share with it. But what I want to do is kind of start with this before I dive into the Metahero platform itself, the founders, all that. So I want to talk about this. One thing I think is pretty neat about what Metahero is doing is they're thinking about how do we have utility from the get-go, right? It's not just, hey, here's another burn token and here's the charity that's involved. There's like millions of those that are out there. So totally different. With Metahero, they're really thinking about, the future of a lot of things like gaming, NFTs, the ability to create digital representations of physical elements. And you know who that includes or what that includes? You and me. So, I don't know if you guys have ever played. I'm a little bit of a gamer. I haven't played Cyberpunk. I know a ton of people do, but if you've ever played Cyberpunk, one of the things that people were just so blown away with is the models in the game. People are like, man, this game really feels so much more realistic because our human brains have the ability to interpret and see fake created AI generated human models that we built off, just trying to build our best off of a computer model versus actually digitally scanned models. And that is a huge piece of what Metahero is bringing to market. It's not just a crypto. It's the ability to bridge together human and physical representations in the digital ecosystem, and that's got a lot of power. So let's dive into that and let's kind of see more about how this works. So first of all, here is Metahero's site. You can see the whitelist. You may want to jump into that if you want to try to register, but I wouldn't worry about that too much because there's a public sale that's going to be happening really soon. That's really what you want to get in on if you're interested in this. So you can see this, it is a deflationary token. There's a burn mechanism. I'll show you how that works in just a minute, which again, I'm a huge fan of the burn mechanisms because it creates a deflationary economy. Not all burn tokens are the same. Keep that in mind. As we scroll down, you can see some information here, kind of about how it works, the same video that's on the GEMS website. And here's kind of the entire scanner. So I remember the very first time I watched the movie Matrix. Do you guys remember that? And if you were kind of my age and generation, that was a groundbreaking movie. They had these scenes where Morpheus or Neo would pause and it's like the camera would flip around them and you're like, whoa, that's incredible. How are they doing that? It's very similar to this. You have all of these cameras that are lined up in a room that are taking images all together that allow software to stitch that together. Matrix, I'm not saying it was the very first, but it was my first experience with technology like this, and I was blown away by it, and it really showed the ability and the power of digital modeling and what that can produce. And so the Metascanner is Metahero's project. They are taking this technology to market, and they're doing this in combination with Wolf Studios. This is both the same studio and the same platform that was used in Cyberpunk that I just mentioned, that CD Projekt used. That's really, really cool. And so I love how this is happening. They say you can have up to 4 people in the chamber at a time. At the moment, it's going to take some time to get it scaled out. I'll kind of show you what that'll look like in a minute. If you're interested, like you're watching this and you want to order your own 3D chamber, you can do that. I haven't really talked with the team yet to understand pricing economics. I'm sure it won't be cheap. Won't be for most people. But to get into one of these and have your own scan done is certainly something that you can and likely will be able to do in the future. Here's the economics. I'm not going to spend too much time on this yet because I'm going to get into this in the white paper. There is an app that's coming out too, and that's really, really cool. So it's not out yet. When it is out, I will be sure to jump in and review it for you so you can see it. But here's the cool thing. The only way you're going to be able to use the Metahero platform, the actual scanner, is by using the Hero token. So that's where the utility comes from. There's a utility token with it called Hero, and that is combined as the payment mechanism for you to be able to use and get your own scans from the Metahero platform as a whole. And I think that's really cool. It really does bridge together the utilities that we want. You can scroll down and you can see where they're at in the roadmap, what they've built. We can see, we know who the core team is. We know the app development's on the way. We know that they've done a private sale with some of their key investors, all that good stuff, which is really awesome. But a couple things stick out to me. One is Ah, they publish their address, so I can know who they are. But you know what is so much more than that? I can go and take a look at the team. So I click on team, and wouldn't you know it, Robert Grin is the founder and CEO. I've covered Robert before on this channel. See, I'm a big fan of Robert. Robert is an entrepreneur just like me. He has taken a wildly successful company called CodeWise and blew it all the way up. He got into like Forbes magazine. He's one of the fastest growing companies in the UK. He's a true entrepreneur. I can tell you that through and through. And I love that he has really ventured into and gone wholesale into crypto itself. I watched one of his AMAs and I really listened to his ideas, his philosophies, what he's trying to do. And he has a good concept and understanding of the whole purpose of crypto itself is to upset not just the digital economy, but the world of finance and banking. And his understanding and direction of it, I absolutely love where he's coming from. And so this is one of his forays into all of that. So let's talk a little bit more about Robert Grin, because I think there's some really cool and powerful things in that hold for the utility and potential of Metahero. So the first thing is, when Robert sold CodeWise, obviously he got some money out of it. That's one of the reasons we entrepreneurs build and sell companies, is to be able to have the capital to do new things through the acquisition. That's a powerful, wonderful, fun thing. And Robert has funded the entire Metahero project with 10 million of his own dollars, US dollars. Why is that? This is putting skin in the game. One of the things that we look for when we're looking at new companies is, do the founders have skin in the game? Have they put their own resources into the company so that we know that they don't want to see it fail? See, if they don't do that and they just kind of play around with it, we call that being a wantrepreneur, and they're never going to be fully incentivized. Well, with Robert putting $10 million of his own money into this, you think he wants that to fail? You think he wants $10 million to burn up and go nowhere? Of course not. We know that. So that's a big sign of success, which is a really good thing. And Robert is no stranger, not just to the startup world, not just to the crypto world, but even the finance world as well. So he's an ambassador with the Celsius program. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Celsius. I dropped 100K into Celsius. There's the video right there if you want to go take a look at it and kind of see what's happened around my journey of using and investing in Celsius. I think it's a brilliant platform, and I love that he's been involved in them. So he really is somebody that's been on the scene for quite a while and has the street cred and credibility. And so I'm a really big fan of that. I really think those are some things that should weigh heavily into your decision-making criteria of, is Metahero something that I want to invest in? So let's take a peek really quickly at the white paper. I'm not going to go through all of it for you, but I do want to share just a couple of things. This is all on Metahero's website, so you can see it yourself. So here's the tokenomics. You can see right here how the whole thing works. You can see there's a difference between the user themselves when they're buying, they're selling their own hero at the wallet level. There's a fee. I'll get to that in just a second. But for the actual transaction, so if you're doing like a future NFT transaction or something inside of the hero ecosystem, there's no fee at all for usage. And the reason for this is they want to make sure that people are incentivized to do all kinds of hero-based transactions inside the hero ecosystem without being punished for it. It's just the buying and selling is causing the deflationary nature where the burn mechanism exists. So there's a 5% burn, 1% goes to the hodlers like you and me, like all burn tokens do, 1% is burned, and then the rest goes into a liquidity pool. And that liquidity pool has a purpose. It's to make sure that there's stability. It's to make sure that there's funding that's there. If the liquidity is over $10 million, then there's an optional buyback and burn. I would like to see a little bit more from them on what makes it optional, what the criteria is. I'd love to see that later. But if it's under 10 million, it automatically goes into the liquidity pool. So what does that mean? That just means there's a lot of stability. They're really making sure that even though there's a burn mechanism, there's always going to be liquidity around for people like you and me to buy and be involved in Hero. So I think that's really a good thing. Also, you can see this is the rollout plan. It's going to take a while for these systems and platforms to get built out, for the actual meta scanners to get going. I think there's one that's going out to release to, I think the white paper says Qatar coming first. So I think that's interesting. And then you'll see some others. For example, for me here in the US, there's two planned. It looks like one in New York and one in, it's probably LA from what I can see on the dropped pin right there. Also throughout the EU, Asia, Australia regions. So good to see that there's a rollout plan here that's going to have worldwide reach. And so what's the game plan behind all this? Where's this going? Well, obviously the 3D chambers are going to be dropped into these locations where people like you and me can go in and we can actually get a full scan. And it's not going to be just people like you and me. I mean, there's going to be all kinds of corporate sponsorships. You know, one thing that Robert mentioned is, think about FIFA. You think FIFA wants scans of every single player? Of course they do, right? That can go right into the game systems itself. So when you're playing these games, they feel so much more realistic. I could see that happening with every sports team, every sports league that's out there. I could see this becoming even some kind of, imagine like video games allowing you to take your own digital scan and inputting yourself directly into your own games. How cool is that? You know, people spend hours using those like face generators. Like I remember doing this in Skyrim, trying to do your best to create yourself. Well, why do that when you can have your own scan, your own NFT of yourself created, and import it into any game that supports it? That's really cool, especially as AR games and full VR games continue to hit the scene. They also talk about how the cost of this is going to be present as well in a positive way. So, you know, they're saying normal across the board averages to do something like this would be about $700. With their platform, they're looking at more like $200 at a global level. And they say, yeah, we know that might be expensive for some people, but it's a novelty right now, but it'll eventually go into practice. And they're thinking, you know, each chamber can scan around 200 to 400 people a day. If 150,000 people annually, that's a lot of scans. So I think what you'll see is as the roll up begins to go, the economies of scale will kick in, and hopefully that $200 threshold will come down even further, allowing just everybody to get their own scanner if they want it. Here's the breakdown of the revenue forecast. So you can see next year they're planning to have 12 scanners, hoping to bring in about 157 million in revenue. And you can see how this scales all the way up into 2026 with $2.6 billion of revenue. Now that doesn't mean that's going to happen, right? But this is just projections based upon some amount of scientific math that's been placed into this. So again, I love seeing this, right? I feel like I'm looking at a real business. If I'm vetting a company, revenue forecasts are one of the things you look at. You just do. So I love seeing that all this in place. This is Robert and the rest of the core team at Metahero. You can see their entrepreneurial experience really launching through with all of this. You can see more information about the Hero token itself. Here's the distribution. It's a normal distribution. There is a private and a public presale. The presale, like I mentioned, is coming up. The liquidity pool, 20%. Company reserves, you always need to have that. So you can see all of this stuff in place. And don't be offended by, you know, the pre-sales, the team investors, the holdovers on that, because we know the teams are public, because we know that there's utility, because we know that there's a crossover to the physical world with these scanners. There's capital that's needed. There's funding and revenue and marketing expenses that are needed. So I'm okay when I see these things because I'm looking at a real company that has real expenses. It's not just a, you know, a fly-by-night burn token company. So I think that's good. And then you can dive into the roadmap if you want to kind of take a peek at that more. Last thing I wanted to show you as well is just their social presence. So it looks like 5,300 members in the Telegram channel, which is great. And on Twitter, they're looking at about, where is it here? They're the same, about 5,700 followers. So it really does have some growth. It's really coming out. I would truly encourage you to take a look at the Metahero platform. Overall, I'm really excited about it. I do think with Robert's experience and the rest of the core team, this is not their first time creating a company. They know how to build utility. They know how to bring a product to market. They also know and are anticipating the future of where games, NFTs, medical scanning, all of this kind of stuff could come into full circle and full use cases, of which the meta scanners could be at the center and heart of it all. And what drives all of that, my friends? The Hero token. The Hero token is the crux to all of it, which is the first gem on the Tenset platform. So I want to say congrats to the Tenset team for your first gem. What a rock star of a gem it is. I also want to say congrats to the Metahero team for producing and creating a very innovative concept. So I'm really interested in this. I'm going to be following it. I'm a big fan of it. I really do think it has a lot of potential, and I'd love to know what you think. What do you think is the future for Metahero itself? Do you think it's going anywhere? What do you like most about it? Leave me some comments below, my friends. I would love to know. Thanks.